Hey guys, Ben Bellac here, Beverly Hills super podcaster with friend, co-host, angry producer, Zach Goldsmith 24.
Angry. It's been a rough week.
Zach, I know you wanted to talk about something today that's really important to you.
We're going to skip that and talk about something that's personal and important to me.
Oh, okay.
I do. I want to talk about something that's very personal to me because it's been coming up a lot lately in my life, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to this. Nothing to do with golf. So if you want to tune out, go ahead.
I can't unhear a lot of people.
A lot of people, believe me, it's a beautiful thing. That's why a lot of people are saying a lot of things, and they're right. What a profound statement. A handful of years ago, I was seeing this terrific therapist who cut me off, I think. I don't know. He's changed his number. I literally can't get a hold of him anymore. But I was having issues with lacking the ability to reach certain goals that I wanted to achieve.
So you sought out a therapist for this?
Yeah, because I thought you're going life coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just what I was thinking, yeah. Well, particularly because a therapist in Los Angeles is $250 an hour.
$375, but which is hard pill to swallow. But I felt like it's my future, so it's worth it. And I just pulled my kids out of school for a little while. It's something. So I wanted to dive deeper, and he suggested that we got to a point where he was couldn't help me anymore. And he was he helped me a great deal. But he was I want you to go see this one specialist. It costs a lot of money, but they will vet you, go through all this testing, and find out why you're not reaching this. I felt like I was trapped, lazy, paralyzed in certain ways in a lot of situations. And I didn't know why. And
Wait, the therapist referred you to a specialist?
a special therapist.
This is very Los Angeles.
Welcome to LA.
This is not what I do in particular.
Went through. I'm just here on my lunch break. So we went through a lot of testing, and what they found out that was missing. Mm-hmm. Can you guess what it was?
Structure.
Confidence.
What? Stop.
I've told people this story, and
you're one of the most confident people I've ever met.
I think that I am very confident, and I was shocked to hear it, but knowing inside that there's a little part of me that is not. And I got to tell you, I was shocked by this, shocked by the verdict. And the deeper we dove, the more I realized she was right. I lacked confidence. People look at me as confident. I feel confident. I think I am. But deep inside, buried is a version of a little scared boy who doesn't want to see my growth.
Who doesn't want to what?
Who doesn't want to see my growth?
Okay.
Like the young child. Have you seen my childhood?
Please.
I'm searching. Okay. I do love that song.
I'm really surprised by this because what many of you don't understand is that you can pretty much give Zach a microphone in any public setting and he can just go live with it. I saw him right when he came to the agency step in front of all the chairmen, which is the top 2% globally at the agency, and roast all of the highest producing agents, founders, and partners. And he prepared some of it for a few hours prior to, and it was one of the most brilliant comedic performances I've seen. Sure, a bit of a niche that I'm a target demographic for, but it was great. And then also I saw him MC our mutual friend's wedding, which was also incredible. And to hear him say that someone diagnosed him as not having confidence is wild, but also very interesting. So I'm sorry for interrupting, but this is crazy to me.
I appreciate you saying that. And I think give me a microphone and my life changes. I walk into my house, I don't have a microphone, my kids overrun me. Right? So often I've been held back by something, and it's really been fear-based. Whether it's the fear of failure or the fear of success. And so much of that time, it was subconscious. I didn't even know what was happening. And it's important because when it's subconscious, there's a greater chance it doesn't get addressed. And it's subconscious because my bully likes to hide it from me.
Your what?
My bully.
Okay. You have a bully?
I have a bully, and I think
Okay.
that everyone has some form of this bully. Let me explain.
Well, does he have
something.
like a name and a face?
Yeah, it's a good question. He is my alter ego. I'll just come out and say it. His name is Jack Goldberg. It's a long story, and he sort of looks devilish, but like a smiling devilish, sort of like Aladdin. Really, that's weird and twisted. I don't want to get into that part of it. But he is a bad guy, a bad hombre, okay? And he lives inside of me. I think there's a version that lives inside of all of us. It's that voice, or many times it's a feeling of fear and resistance to growth, okay? He hates growth. The stronger I become, the weaker he becomes. So he does everything in his power to try and stop my growth without me even realizing it. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that if you're going to look at it that way, I think I have a bully or bullies too.
Look, I think we all do. And I think it's maybe what you're feeling there now, this coming out. A lot of it is subconscious. Half the time, I don't even know he's there. Okay? Like when I have stuff to do, you ever can't get off the couch? You ever can't get out of bed in the morning or can't get out of your pajamas? I mean, I love my PJ game, so I keep it on for longer than most. But sometimes it's just hard for me to get moving with the day or with certain moments of my life. And I'm laying there paralyzed instead of taking action. I'll be laying there and I want to move and I'll look to my left and I'll see an IV drip. And I look up and it's connected to a bag of morphine. And out of nowhere, I am paralyzed. I can't move. My bully has doped me. So it's a lot of the time, I don't think people identify what this is, this force of nature that is pulling us back. But like everything we're fearful of, everything I'm fearful of, every non-action item I take is because of my bully.
Okay, and are you talking specifically like, all right, it's a lazy Saturday, or like, no, you have stuff that you need to do that you would probably lump into the growth category, and your bully helps you to just kind of casually continually move it down the priority list and you put things ahead of it because the bully's like bullying you out of those things?
Yeah, it's a great question. It could be any day of the week. It could be any time, a lazy Sunday or an active Monday. Granted, if it's an active Monday, I've got no choice but to move, and I move. You know, he makes me feel stuck.
Okay.
Depressed even. Like I get bouts of depression. For example, I may think to myself, like, what should I be doing today to grow my career? What could I be doing creatively today that'll make me feel inspired? Or even investment related growth that I want, like passive income stream I need to focus on.
You're just like, I won't go learn it.
Something related to growth. My bully will have a million reasons to stop me before I even start. Like before I even realize it, well, where would you start?
Okay.
What if it's not perfect, which it won't be? You could easily fail, and then what? You'll look stupid. It'll be embarrassing. Pass on this right now. Don't make yourself look like an idiot. Just, we'll figure it out later.
Okay, so did the therapist that referred you to the specialist, did they kind of help you to get to the root of where this bully is coming from?
Yeah, they did, and I will address that. I'll tell you that like part of the tools I'm learning to deal with this are exciting. This is like the turnaround in my life. I've seen a massive change since I was able to identify this bully and then take action steps against him. There's a great documentary that Jonah Hill did with his therapist called Stutz.
Oh, yeah, I
it?
started watching this. Well, I got to finish, but yes. It was just bad timing. It wasn't because it wasn't great. It looks amazing.
It's incredible because he identifies this bully, which spoke to me, and he calls it Part X. And what he does brilliantly is identifies Part X, or the bully, as the villain in his story. That to me spoke volumes. This rung a bell for me. I see my life as a movie anyway, right? Like, who remembers exactly what happened 10 years ago, even last weekend, right? So I recall it in a more animated way that's more exciting for me in my life. And I think it's like, it adds more excitement to my life story. And maybe it is how it happened. Maybe it did fly there. But it's he calling it the villain, labeling it like a superhero. He's the villain. I am the superhero in my own movie.
Dude, I think I want to be in your movie here.
You're filming your own movie, buddy. You are filming your own movie. Maybe we'll get that out in the next hour. But it's putting it that way, to me, changed my life. Seeing myself as the hero and the bully as the villain, okay? It's constant work, but we continue, and we need that negativity. We need that villain to grow. We need the drama in the film. We need the controversy in the reality show. So I don't want you to look at this as a bad thing, because I did for so long when I realized now that I have the tools to fight it, it's the opposite of bad. We need to face adversity in order to evolve.
Dude, you know what this is reminding me of? We did an episode recently on the why.
Yeah.
And the motivator being to attain things versus feeling pain. And it sounds like you are motivated by the pain a little bit in the form of the villain here.
I've learned, it's so well put. I've learned to not shy away from it and look at it as the biggest part of my life and the thing that fuels me. And I have become, like, we all have role models, and I'm very good at taking from people that I admire. Like you, sometimes, very, very few. There's a couple.
Understood.
There's probably
I get
nothing.
it. You know, the sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while.
I'd like to look up where that phrase came from, by the way. So, but my real hero is becoming myself.
Oh my God, is that the most egocentric thing I've ever heard of?
It has to be. I'm fighting my own fight here by myself against my villain. So in the morning, I just sing to myself, there goes my hero. Watch him as he grows. Grows. I changed it to grows.
By the way, and what's
He's
the name of the singer?
ordinary.
What's the name of the singer?
Foo Fighter, Grohl.
Dave Grohl's.
Oh, well, that's personal.
All right, so it sounds like you've like gotten to a point where you're like your own hero that you aspire to be, and like this is the version you're consistently and continuously working on becoming.
Yeah, this is my journey, and I am learning to develop the tools to arm my hero with.
Okay.
The weapons to fight the villain.
Okay.
And that's where life becomes exciting, where you identify and you take action.
I believe there are people that we know personally and also that are public figures that have weaker villains.
Of course, everyone has. I think everyone has a villain. I think anyone you ask, even the most confident person in the world, Mr. President, whoever you ask,
Oh my
they
God,
will have,
that guy's got villains.
They will have a version of the villain. Some are weaker than others. Some are less identified than others.
No,
but everyone will have some form, no matter how confident you think they are.
No, totally. But what I'm saying is I think by kind of putting in a routine of kind of villain fighting exercises, you can kind of not only weaken them, but permanently weaken them. Like, for example, I think for me, because I feel spread thin around a lot of the things that I have decided to undertake, there are times where I feel particularly susceptible to what you describe as the bully. For me, all of the potential imposter syndrome that I feel around everything that I and we do, it comes up. So
even in your business, there are times you feel this.
Yes, I absolutely do. And I think,
because you come across as extremely confident in your business, and I think you are, but I think there's this degree underlying that everyone has.
There is, and I don't know if it's me needing to wrangle my ambition and to find gratitude. Speaking of gratitude, that's kind of part of the way with which I recharge when I feel particularly susceptible, because my energy will get low, because it all really comes from your mindset. And I do think that it's really easy when you're fatigued to let these things kind of creep back in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you hit something on the head when you said, or very important, when you said you can weaken him and defeat him. And I think it's important to realize what I was battling defeating him for a long time until I realized there's no defeating him. There's beating him. There's winning the wars.
Or
right?
winning the battles, but not the
There's
wars.
winning the battles,
Yeah.
and I think which does win you the war at the end. And you won't win every battle, but you win more of the battles, and you realize that he'll never go away. This is something I realize he'll never go away, nor do I want him to. If there is no villain to fight, how do you reach greater levels of success?
Okay, so
Do you
wait.
understand what I'm saying? He fuels me when he fights me. If I fight back, I gain more strength, I gain more knowledge, I gain more tools in the world.
Okay, so maybe we should talk about kind of the tools that we use to fight the bully back.
Okay, well, I'll tell you the first thing that I do is...
We know what you do. You do sit-ups while you're brushing your teeth.
And you don't like the way I meditate, but like I will tell you that when I start meditation...
This guy's on Zoom meetings while he's meditating.
You can do it. It's... I'm not present anyway, so why don't I just zoom out? Zach, 1 minute, please. The first thing I do is make myself aware during the day. I say to myself, and sometimes I do it while I'm meditating in the morning. You could call me a bad meditator, but it helps me to plan. And I think I'm going to be aware of my bully today. I'm going to be aware of my villain in my story. I'm going to be aware that his existence is here. He is here. He will try and fight throughout the day. And whenever I notice him, so be aware is my first weapon.
By the way, your awareness also sounds like acceptance. Just that he'll be present.
The accepting is one of the greatest kind
he's
of
just gonna be
revelations
there.
I've had.
Okay.
I accept he's going to be there. The more I can be aware of it, the greater the chance I can fight him. So I take action is the next step. So the first step is be aware. The second is taking action. One thing that I do for my confidence is that this therapist taught me was to write a journal about yourself and I create a daily paragraph that I read whenever I get around to it. Now, my mind has made it so long, it's daunting to read, but
It's a series of haikus available now on Amazon.com.
Zach, you are fantastic. You're beautiful. You do everything right. No, it's a series of sort of affirmations, but it tells me things I need to instill confidence in myself during the day. So whatever that means for you, write something down that shows you all your great qualities and read that to yourself. And I guarantee your day will go better. You start the day like that. Be aware, take action, do this daily paragraph. There's 3 things that have changed my life.
Okay. It reminds me a lot of a very famous book that I've actually read a couple times now. It's a short book, but called The Miracle Morning. And when I feel myself like slipping into kind of low energy pessimism mode, scarcity mindset mode, I revisit the morning routine that is listed there. And when I have team members come to me and say that they're feeling a bit dejected or disenfranchised, just lacking enthusiasm and lacking belief, I always recommend this book to them. And I feel that it's not something that you have to do like 2-3 days. You have to force yourself to do it at least 2-3 weeks in a row. And I've actually heard of people who started it for 2-3 weeks and then they're addicted to it. They have never gone off that track since because they like starting their day kind of slaying dragons that way. If you want, I can kind of summarize quickly what it recommends so everyone doesn't have to read the book.
And you reference this on a daily, weekly basis or when you need a hit?
When I need a hit and I feel like I'm slipping, because I spread myself very thin and I am a human being. I'm getting older. I'm naturally going to have less energy to slay dragons in the way that I used to, like a total and utter maniac. This is what I dip into. So basically,
do the Cliff Notes have Cliff Notes?
It's fast, I promise. So they recommend that you wake up at 5 a.m. and they're like, if that sounds crazy to you, you start at 6 a.m. and then most people end up backing it up. And what it is you start off with a drink of water and then you brush your teeth immediately so you just feel fresh and awake, followed by 10 to 20 minutes of exercise to get your heart rate up. But this is not designed to be redlining every morning. You're not supposed to like crush yourself in the morning. It's just to get your mind in a peak state. After you finish that, it should be at least 10 minutes of meditation, not necessarily the kind that Zach does where he's, stretching and, brushing his teeth and doing sit-ups at the same time.
Again, that is not the brushing the teeth motion.
After that meditation is complete, you would then to go write down 10 things that you're grateful for in a journal, followed by reading 10 pages in a book. And then the last part of it is to say affirmations aloud. And the point of reading it aloud is so you hear it. So now your endorphins are going. There's lots of positivity running through your veins. You've activated your mind by reading, and by doing this, 2-3 weeks in a row can really, really, really change. And what happens is usually after week 2 is that people go, you know what? I got to get up early tomorrow. I want to get the most out of this. I'm not only going to either get up earlier, but I'm also going to start incorporating a nightly routine so I get the most out of the morning routine. And that nightly routine usually looks like picking 2 things that you really want to focus on doing the next day instead of getting overwhelmed by the checklist. And also no blue light 30 minutes prior to going to bed, which means the phone goes down, the TV goes off. Maybe you read here. And then lastly, going to bed at a normal hour. So you can just maximize sleep and recovery.
You had me until there. How long? By the way, that we should post this in a Cliff Notes version because it's going to be useful for me to reference. How long is this process every day?
Well, if you just do the math, 10 minutes, let's say 20 minutes of exercise.
Let's just do
10 pages. Sorry, I'm just doing it live.
Yeah.
So it's less than an hour.
Okay, so
it's
you're starting your
hour.
day, prepping for your day, your mindset, your body, your health for the first hour.
Here's the thing. Most people, they get up in the morning and they just grab the poison. They turn over, they grab their phone, they doom scroll through social media or the news app, they look at their notifications, they get into their email.
They go to coffee.
For someone who's
They go to donuts.
For someone who's looking for growth, you have to be in a peak mindset because growth generally requires you to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. So if you choose your hard and do it when your willpower is the strongest in the morning, let's say for someone it's cold calling. Let's just say as an example, it's tough. It's one thing to have like 1 week of being successful at it. It's another thing to have 10 days, but to keep enduring that hard thing, you have to feed your mind and body. And part of that is having that self-care time before being reactive to things like escrows, which the truth of the matter is they're either going to close or they're not. So by architecting your day and putting yourself first, followed by your hard, you really set yourself up to evolve. And that's kind of the theory behind all of it.
So basically what your method is actually starting to battle your bully on a daily basis, knowing he'll be there, wanting you to turn and get those dopamine hits, because I think that's what the bully loves. The good news is he is in a race to the finish line that day. Mm-hmm. The hero is running a marathon. Mm-hmm. He's running a race, the hero's running a marathon. Mm-hmm. So you arming yourself each day with these tools fights the bully to start the day.
Yeah, it's an ignition.
It's an ignition to start, and he hates it.
Yeah, it ignites you.
What happens halfway through the day? What happens at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock when you need to keep going and your bully jumps in, your villain of your story jumps in and is like, look, it's lunch, let's take a lunch break, let's relax. Yeah, you got a couple of things, we can get to them later. I mean, this is some of the stuff that goes on in my head.
So my answer to that question is this morning routine, it eliminates that. There is no here's the answer to that. Sorry, a lot just occurred in my mind at the same time. The reason why that doesn't happen is because we've talked about this before. Motivation comes after massive action and not the other way around, right? So what happens is you wake up, you serve your mind, you serve your body, you choose your heart by taking action when you're in a peak state. And then after that, you are motivated and inspired for the rest of the day. It's just natural. It's natural. You don't need caffeine to give you that jolt. You don't need it. It's just the fact that you woke up early, you did these things, then you chose your hard, you executed on your goal, on the thing that's hard for you, and that fire is organic.
Yeah, and so what stops you from doing that on a daily basis?
I'm tired, buddy. I'm just tired.
Your bully stops you from doing it on a daily basis.
That's exactly right. So that's my battle is like, am I going to get that morning routine in? Am I going to do it? And I get sucked back because of market conditions or whatever it is. And the thing is, you don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to punish yourself. You don't have to judge yourself. We're all human beings. But it is interesting when you consistently commit to an action like you have in the meditation since the beginning of the year. It's interesting what happens. That snowball starts going and you start melting the bully.
The villain hates it. The villain hates those action steps, which is why I think like yours are phenomenal. Mine are in line with that. And I think like the way to start is being aware. Being aware and accepting his existence will trigger something in you to be prepared to fight back, because you don't want the hero to lose.
Yeah, it's really interesting, this thing you're talking about, awareness, because I feel like instead of people grasping and saying, you know what, I'm a human being and I have doubts and I'm some product of my environment growing up, I'm too proud to admit it. But the truth is if you just admit it, then you can attack it. And
who are you in a war with? We're in a war. We're too proud to admit to ourselves.
yeah, that's what I mean.
It's crazy.
Yeah, people are, they won't even admit it to themselves, which, by the way, as we wrap here, this is why, as you can see in the office, we, you know, if we have a goal of 300 appointments, that's why we have them up. That's why we have the affirmations up on the bathroom mirror, because just by thinking them or having them in a note somewhere in digital, it's real easy for the bully to hide them from you. By having them up and out, those are not only your reminders, but those are added defenses.
Now, I love that, and you gotta take that action. Do you think, because for me, being perfection is something that the bully seeks. He pretends that he needs from me. So I won't start something because I think it has to. He's told me it has to be perfect, and you've always said done is better than perfect, and that resonates with me, you know, because my bully disagrees with that entirely. A tool I've learned, which also helped with this, something I learned from a great therapist, something you've instilled, is wording something different with my clients or with myself so it doesn't have to be final. So it can be, hey, here, look at these to start, instead of here's everything, tell me what you think. That's a small little change and difference that makes a huge difference in the client's mind. It makes a huge difference in my mind. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be final. Here's what I'm putting out.
The way you label it.
So it's the way you label it for them and yourself. And that kind of battles the imperfection idea that I think we all strive for. And it's just another little tool to go along with everything we're talking about. And I think we put these things together and we have the constant fight, but it's exciting. It's a superhero movie rather than a depressing biopic.
Wow, what an existential episode this turned out to be. It was certainly introspective. What we did learn is that in Los Angeles, you cannot just get therapy from the first therapist. There is a chance that they will refer you out to a specialist therapist, because the market for therapy in Southern California is so in need. As we are so self-care driven. Zach, I had no idea that our conversation was going to go the way with which it turned today. And I do think that the biggest piece of this episode in retrospect is that while a lot of people will DM us, hey, you're killing it, we have demons too, we struggle, we are human beings, we are victims of our own relative ambitions and our own upbringing, environment, whatever it may be, and that you really just kind of got to take it one day at a time, one morning at a time, right? And the bully doesn't go away. This is part of being a human being. So
you don't want him to go away. You want him to be there so you fight and get stronger. Just be aware, and we can take action. It's exciting.
Speaking of taking action, you want to take us out?
No.
Guys, thank you for tuning in for another episode of To Live and Buy in Los Angeles. I'm at Ben Bellac. This is at Zach Goldsmith, and this is where he says,
Super bien. Good night, everyone. Good night, Los Angeles.